what, I already voted. Of course, I'm an elder, a senior citizen, and so we have that right to do it, and my wife and I already voted. And I believe in voting. I'm a Vietnam veteran, and I've voted ever since I was of age to vote. And I can't believe how America is today as I look at it. I'm very disappointed, but I am a proud American, and I hope that we get back to that again, because our people deserve it, our veterans deserve it, our nation deserves that, what is best for everybody. So again, I thank you for coming, and I hope that you have some good speeches and good questions, and you have a good time. So now I want to turn this over to my good friend here. Used to be my boss. Now who's the boss? Desmond, I really appreciate all the work that he has done, because like I said, I work for the natural resource. And you know, the thing about Native Americans, we were always there when it comes to the land, air, and water. We knew how to take care of everything, and we didn't have to go to school to do it. It was just part of our nature, is to take care of our land, our water, and our air. So again, this is used to be my boss, now okay, but Desmond, it's all yours. He's going to moderate this and have a good time. Thank you again.
Thank you, Chairman Sam. So again, welcome. I'm Desmond Berry. I am the department manager or director for our Natural Resources Department. You know, we are tasked with protecting our environment. So, you know, it was important for us to hold this town hall, to hear from candidates, and to focus it on environmental issues. Without further ado, I'm going to welcome Brandon Fewens, who's here to represent our U.S. Senator Debbie Stabenow, to the stage. Turn the floor over to him for a second, or a minute, or 5, whatever he needs.
On me. Hello. On behalf of Senator Stabenow, it's really a pleasure to join all of you here this evening to discuss these important issues. And in a little bit, the Senator's video is going to play, and it's really geared towards the tribes. I know there's a lot of non-tribal members here as well, but my comments are going to be directed to the tribe as well. As the Senator's Northern Michigan Regional Manager for the past 17 plus years, I can tell you firsthand how important it is to Senator Stabenow to value our nation-to-nation relationship with our tribal partners. Senator Stabenow understands and she appreciates that often it's the tribes who are on the front lines of protecting our air, water, and soil. And they're doing it for the future generations, the next 7 generations. And it's that very principle that there's no better example of than our Great Lakes, our inland waters and streams. And many of you probably heard Senator Stabenow say in the past that when you're from Michigan, and I think for our tribal friends, the land that they now call Michigan, but when you're from Michigan, the Great Lakes are part of who we are. It's in our DNA, it's in our blood. And it's incumbent upon all of us to pass it along in better condition than how it was given to us. Senator Stabenow has been working hand in hand with our tribal partners for the last 18 years. We're coming up on another election. Once again, she's going to ask for your support. And we look forward to our continued relationship and a successful partnership with our tribal friends and neighbors. Thank you. Miigwech.
Good evening. I really wish I could be with you in person. Sam McClellan, Tribal Chairman of our Grand Traverse Band of Ottawa and Chippewa Indians, thank you for your leadership, the members of your Tribal Council, and all of the leaders who are here this evening from Good evening.
difficulties. We gotta get the screen lit up first. Andy's coming, Eric. We figured we needed a brief intermission, you know. We checked it earlier at like 3:30 and it was flawless, so. That's not the video she sent, but I think she agrees with that.
Good evening.
There
I
we go.
really wish I could be with you in person. Sam McClellan, Tribal Chairman of our Grand Traverse Band of Ottawa and Chippewa Indians, thank you for your leadership, the members of your Tribal Council, and all of the leaders who are here this evening from all across the state. Thank you for what you do. And thank you for hosting this important town hall on an issue that's crucial to the health of our people and communities, our precious water. As you know, part of the federal trust responsibility is ensuring that our tribes have clean air and clean water. And as sovereign nations, you are taking the lead in providing these important resources for your people. Your members know, as well as I do, that the only way we can protect our Great Lakes for the next generation is for our generation to act. That's why I've been honored to be your partner on projects including the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, a program I authored in 2010. We know that elections have consequences, and we saw the consequences of the last election when President Trump tried to zero out funding for GLRI. But the people of Michigan stood up. We fought back, and we got every penny restored. Thank you for your partnership. And that's only one of the threats to our Great Lakes that we need to constantly focus on. Asian carp and a 65-year-old pipeline under the straits are of deep concern. And Nestle should not be getting our water. Many of our communities are also dealing with water contamination, including from PFAS chemicals. Senator Peters and I worked across the aisle to introduce the PFAS Accountability Act and the PFAS Detection Act, which will improve federal response to contamination and enhance detection. And I have been able to get funding for our health study so we are able to know the complete risks to human health. And in the 2018 bipartisan budget, we were able to raise the amount the USDA emergency water grants can give from $500,000 to $1 million, which will help. The Senate Farm Bill, which I passed on a historic 86-11 vote, makes investments in conservation and rural water systems as well, and includes, as you know, 30 different provisions for our tribal communities. As ranking member of the Ag Committee, I'm currently negotiating with Senate and House leaders to pass a final farm bill that once again has Michigan on every page and includes those important tribal provisions. I'd also like to thank you for the work you're doing to protect our waterways through the Tribal Stream and Michigan Fruit Belt Collective, and so many other things. As you know, this project is using my regional conservation partnership funding to protect tribal traditions, conserve farmland, and restore critical waterways. I love our state. I know you do too. Working alongside you to make it even better is one of the greatest honors of my life. I would appreciate your vote November 6th, so we can continue moving forward together.
One more time for Senator Stabenow, please. And Brandon, Chimigwech, thank you for being here and delivering the senator's message. We know she's busy, but she took time to do that for us, and it says a lot. So thank you again. So at this time, looking at this gentleman right here, I'm going to invite our candidate Matt Morgan from the 1st District up to the stage. Before I turn the mic over to him, I just want to share that, I guess like truth in lending here, we invited all candidates to this event. And as a matter of fact, I reached out to Mr. Bergman a number of times. He's not here, and he didn't say he was going to show. He didn't say he was not going to show. One time, this gentleman behind me said I'd be honored. So welcome him to the stage, please.
Thank you, Desmond. Thank you to all the members of the Grand Traverse Band. Chairman Sam, we really appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight to talk about something that's very important. I appreciate you mentioning the fact that you invited the congressman to come tonight. As a matter of fact, I believe you invited all candidates for all of these offices here tonight, and that's important because what we're talking about here is a nonpartisan issue. So in a gesture of bipartisanship, I just would like to thank and acknowledge all the Republican members who are here tonight. If you could please stand for them. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for agreeing that clean water is a bipartisan issue and being willing to come out and talk about it. You know, I'm really grateful again to be here. You know, in all honesty, I will tell you, I wasn't raised in Michigan, didn't grow up here. I'm also not foolish enough to pretend like I was. And it's important to acknowledge because, you know, I married into Michigan, and it's the best I could do. We got here as soon as we could, but it really, I was raised in East Central Illinois. It's a farming community. And on a land that they talk about, they refer to as the Blessed Black Sands of Illinois. It's this fertile earth that's great for growing things, really always has been. And I learned from an early age that there are 4 elements essential to life, and that they are sun, soil, air, and water. And one of those things we can't control, we can't manage the sun, but soil, air, and water are all elements that are in the public trust. They're the responsibility of humankind. They're the things that, for us, are essential to life. You know, and water, you know, is one of those things that we're here to talk about today. I had the privilege of addressing the Democratic convention down in East Lansing a few months ago. And when I did, it's always interesting when you're, you know, anywhere, say, south of Roscommon. There's a lot of folks down there that kind of forget about what's going on up here. And so I was privileged to talk about Michigan. Michigan's 1st Congressional District, one of 14, that constitutes 44% of Michigan's total land area. You know, 25,000 square miles, millions of acres of forest, more coastline than any other congressional district in the continental United States, right? We exist entirely in the Great Lakes watershed. We touch 3 Great Lakes. And so really, truly, from Copper Harbor to Thunder Bay, across the Grand Traverse, and back over to Escanaba, if you care about Michigan and the Great Lakes, you have no better friend than Michigan One. And that's one of the reasons why we're here tonight. You know, protecting these Great Lakes is extremely important to us. It's one of the principal issues driving voters on a daily basis. What is your position? How do you protect our water? Because we have a lot of issues, as the senator just talked about. You know, we got an oil pipeline in the Straits of Mackinac that was laid in the first year of the Eisenhower administration. And we've got this PFAS contamination. I have to be quite honest. I think we've got Flint times 100 across the United States that we're going to be looking at here in terms of contamination. We don't even have an acceptable standard. We don't have an EPA today that's willing to do the work and establish a minimum safe standard for PFAS contamination in groundwater. You go down the road here, Blair Township, we got kids in an elementary school drinking from water fountains and PFAS contamination, and we don't even have the data that we need to understand what the impact is on their health over the long term and what is a minimum safe standard for a long chain chemical that is forever. Stays in your groundwater forever, moves to your surface water, gets to your surface water, a little bit of a wind on the wake and creates a foam. I mean, we know we've got a problem. We're poisoning ourselves. And we have to have a government that's willing to address this issue immediately over the long term. So minimum safe standards for PFAS, 65-year-old pipeline in our straits, and our congressman thinks it's perfectly great for us to wait another 10 years until Enbridge kicks the can down the road and builds a tunnel in the Straits of Mackinac. Expecting us to wait another 10 years and risk contamination of the Great Lakes from this pollution of that pipeline. You know, we have to really be taking this seriously. Our current congressman believes that things are going just fine. This government's doing everything it needs to be. He talks about the Great Lakes. He talks about how beautiful this place is, how special it is, and I agree with him. But talk's cheap. How you vote, what your values are, how you act, that means something. The League of Conservation Voters, nonpartisan League of Conservation Voters, scores our congressman. And they score Jack Bergman a 6 out of 100. What that means, and so Jack's number 6, that's one of the worst scores in Congress today. And that's because 94% of the time he votes against our environment. Talk all you want, but voting 94% of the time against the environment, against clean water, against clean air, for the polluters, against protections. And it's not surprising. It should not be surprising. That's the way he votes. Because more than half of Bergman's money comes from corporate PACs. He's essentially funded by the polluters. And you pick an issue, and I'll point to who's backing it. Big Oil, Koch Industries, the DeVos family, Charter Communications, name it. That's where the interests are. That's why he votes the way he does. And that's why, when we launched our campaign, we made the decision that we would not accept corporate PAC money. And I'm standing before you today with 3 months less total fundraising time than Jack Bergman over this cycle, and we have raised almost the exact same amount of money as Congressman Bergman. And we did it by taking only money from individuals and organizations driven by their members. Groups like the League of Conservation Voters. I left the office today, I had 2 interns from the Sierra Club sitting in my office, working for the issues that matter to Michigan voters, not for the corporate interests. When Nestle talks about water, they talk about it as if it were gold. They actually use this illusion. They talk about the fact that if they own the property, if there's a mineral on the property, they own the right to extract that mineral in perpetuity at any cost. Well, the difference is that principally, gold isn't essential to the sustainment of human life. We cannot accept this to continue in Michigan or anywhere in the Great Lakes or anywhere in the United States. The Great Lakes Compact was a move in the right direction because it took our groundwater and our surface water and our tributaries and it put them all together. And it said, this is a resource. No matter where that water is, we have to protect this because it's so important. But they left in a loophole. And in fact, our congressman at the time, a Democrat named Bart Stupak, who represented this district for 18 years, said, I'm not going to vote for this because it takes the water out of the public trust and it corporatizes it. And it makes it a commodity that can be turned out for profit. And that's what Nestle is doing today. Because of a little loophole that says if it's 5.7 gallons or less, if the container, not the volume, is 5.7 gallons or less, I can ship it anywhere in the world that I want and make a profit on it. And so the hundreds of millions of gallons of groundwater from the Great Lakes Basin that are leaving here at almost zero cost to Nestle. $200 a year permitting fee, $200. Right, we need to close these loopholes. We need to take groundwater seriously. We need to take water seriously because water is not a commodity. We have to protect our water. It's essential for the sustainment of human life. It's why you're here tonight. And the only way to protect it is spelled out in these letters right here in front of you on this little sign. Vote. Vote. When I grew up, when I was in junior high, I took a civics class, and they talked about the things that you don't talk about at the dinner table. You don't talk about religion, you don't talk about politics. Well, we have to break that rule. You need to talk to everybody you know. I don't care how uncomfortable it is, because we are where we are today because not enough people vote. In 10 days, you wake up tomorrow, we have 10 days to turn out voters to show up to make a difference. If we don't show up and vote, people like Jack Bergman will continue to blow you off, to treat you with outright contempt, to give away the natural resources that exist in the public trust to corporations for their profit at your expense. And the only way to change it is to vote. 10 days. Let's get out there, Michigan. Thank you.
He's a tall fella. I'm going to bring the mic down to my level here. Thank you, Candidate Morgan. I very much appreciate you being here tonight. Folks, if you have questions, we're going to do a panel here. But since no one, it's just Matt there, right? So if you want to ask questions, he's going to be around for a little bit. Have that intimate opportunity to do that. There she is. So our gubernatorial candidates, Gretchen Whitmer has responded. She apologizes for not being here. She does have a very busy schedule. She took the time to offer us a video this evening. I'm going to let that play right now.
Hi, this is Gretchen Whitmer. I am running for governor, and I'm running for governor because I love this state. I've spent my whole life in this state, swimming, fishing, enjoying the great beauty that makes Michigan so unique. And I know that as we think about the future of this state, protecting our water is one of the most important things that we need to do a heck of a lot better than we are. So as governor, I'm going to create a department of the Great Lakes and freshwater, have a drinking water ombudsman at the cabinet level to make sure that we eliminate corporate threats, hold polluters accountable, and become the best stewards of this resource that we all have a vested interest in. You cannot live without clean drinking water. It is a fundamental human right. And every one of our voices needs to be a part of the decision-making that is happening in this state. Deals that are cut behind closed doors that we don't have the ability to weigh in on or the information about. That's not how government is supposed to work. So we can do better, and we're going to do better together. I appreciate the tribes in this state and how important your voices are, and I'm looking forward to really forging a partnership as we think about the future of Michigan, as we work together. I thank you for your voices and for your communities. I recognize how important you are to our great state, and I'm excited about working together. But we have to win this election first. We have to pull every like-minded person over the finish line so that we can get to work protecting our environment and making sure that every family in this state has real opportunity to thrive here.
So in full disclosure, we did reach out to Bill Schutte more than one time. We did not receive a response. I'm not gonna be there, here's a video, I'll send somebody else. We got no response. So that's in full disclosure. I'm looking around the room to see if the mayor's here. There he is. Okay, so I'd like to bring you up next, sir. Candidate Dana Nessel for Attorney General apologizes that she's not here, but she sent our Traverse City Mayor, Jim Carruthers, as well as a pre-recorded message. But I'm gonna turn this floor over to Jim right now.
Thank you, Desmond. Thank you, Chairman McClellan. Thank you, Grand Traverse Band, for hosting this event. These are very important times, as we all well know, and getting the information out is very important to our voters. So thank you for hosting this. Dana is very sorry that she cannot be here tonight. As we all know, our candidates are very busy, and we're happy to have the ones that are here, and I support them all. So, Dana was born and raised in Michigan, Southeast Michigan. She went to U of M, and she graduated Wayne State University Law School with a law degree. She served as the Wayne County assistant prosecutor in her professional life, and she's built a career on fighting for people's constitutional rights. She's nationally renowned civil rights attorney, and she's done a really knock-up job at making sure we the people are represented in the guise of government. So I really appreciate what she's done. I met Dana a year ago at the Grand Traverse Democratic Party Truman Dinner, and I had not known who she was. She gave an amazing speech, and I turned around and walked right up to her with all of her passion and gusto. I looked at her and said, Dana, I don't know you, but I'm willing to endorse you right now. She's an amazing woman. It only takes once, and you'll be hearing from her shortly. The Great Lakes are very important to her. Water quality is very important to her, and we've spoken about this personally with her several times, and she's been very vocal about it. The day after she's elected, she will start the process to close Line 5. The Attorney General can do this, and with the help of the other Democrats that are running, who all are supporting this, we will hopefully get this done sooner than later. So she will hopefully be speaking to that to you. Dana also is a strong advocate for the Native American communities and will respect the true sovereignty of the tribal nation. She plans to appoint a tribal liaison in her office who is an attorney and a tribal member. Not just an advisor, but she wants someone on her staff from the tribes to help her deal with the issues of those that came here first, those that own this land, those that have protected the natural beauty and the waters of this great nation for a long time. So Dana means it. So she is going to bring the tribe in with her, and that's what we want. So I want brief comments. Big supporter of Dana, Dan, of Matt, of Debbie Stabenow, of most all the candidates, Gretchen here tonight, but Dana has a pre-recorded message to show you tonight, and please get out to vote. November 6th is important. And as Matt said, talk to your neighbors, talk to your conservative parents, talk to your friends, and talk to your children and your millennial friends. They need to vote. So it's get out the vote. Thank you.
Everyone, I'm so sorry that I was unable to join you today, but I want to thank you for the opportunity to share some of my vision for the Office of Michigan Attorney General with you. Now, let me tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Dana Nessel, and I'm the Democratic nominee for Michigan Attorney General. I have fought and won hundreds of cases, convicting child abusers, murderers, the worst of the worst. And when I saw a rise in hate crimes in Michigan, I knew something had to be done. So I started a hate crimes task force, which has a 100% conviction rate. But justice is more than just locking up bad people, you know? It's about fighting for good people and protecting all our rights. It's about justice for all. I've not only been a prosecutor, but also a defense attorney. I once defended a homeless man because he stole a sandwich because he was hungry, and they wanted to put him away for 15 years. I just thought that was awful, so I fought for him. Instead of jail, I gave him the help that he needed. We owe it to all kids in this state that they grow up in a place with clean, safe drinking water and access to affordable health care. When I'm AG, I'll make sure all Michiganders will have these types of essential protections. I will restore dignity to the Office of Michigan Attorney General and ensure that Michiganders have an aggressive advocate for the people. I'll keep our communities safe from opioids, devastating our communities, and I'll go after pharmaceutical companies who are responsible for this crisis in the first place. I'm running for Michigan Attorney General because I want to be there, strong, fighting for all the people of Michigan. And I really don't have that now, you know? We have an Attorney General's office that it's lost its way. It's not fighting to protect our people, it's wasting our tax dollars protecting big companies who are getting away with polluting our air and our water and letting special interests buy favors. Justice should never be for sale. And when I'm Attorney General, it never will be. Elect me on November 6th, and no one in this state who needs help, who needs justice, will ever have to wonder who will represent them or who will take their case. I will represent you. I will take your case. I will be your lawyer, and I will work relentlessly towards justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I hope you guys appreciated that message from candidate Nessel. Had an opportunity to talk to her on Monday. We had a pretty lengthy conference call. I'd just like to add, she is 100% committed to stopping this dangerous oil pipeline. There is no doubt about it in my mind. And like your message, I do wholeheartedly believe that she's very interested in engaging the tribe. She's demonstrated that throughout this campaign. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about Dana. So at this time, well, I want to back up here. Full disclosure, a friend of mine texted me while we were sitting there, and I forgot to mention John James, who is in Traverse City, had an event today at Streeters, was invited to this event as well. 25 miles away, right? 19, something like that. Awfully close. Told me they weren't going to be able to make it. First they said, well, we might make it. And they said, no, we're not going to be able to make it. I think the event ended at 5, so it's, you know, too far of a drive up here. Half an hour drive, couldn't be here by 6. And I'm being sarcastic, because he's here, you know, but he's not at our event, and he was invited. So I just wanted to put that out there, because for me, it's a powerful takeaway message for this evening, is the fact that these candidates have had the opportunity to come and address you folks, the folks right here on our live streams that are going throughout the room. And we had one that close that didn't even bother to make it here. So, without further ado, at this time I'd like to welcome up our statewide candidates for both House and Senate. You folks could come up now and take a seat. we're going to start our town hall, our questions and answer town hall. So come on up. All of you together, please. I do have some placards. Mr. Page, if you could set that in front of you. Let's see. Oh, sorry, Dan. Okay. Jessica, there you are. Kathy. Apologies from Celia Young-Wenkel, 97th District State Representative candidate was confirmed had a family issue. So I just wanted to put that on the record. Quite a bit of a drive for her too, it would have been. Where is Andrea? I'm looking. She slipped out. Oh, there she is. How far of a drive would it have been for her? Saginaw area. And she had confirmed to come up here, but a family issue called her back. So I just wanted to put that out there because I thought that was pretty incredible, somebody willing to drive up here from there. Okay, so I'm going through questions. If you have questions, there are cards in the back. The way this is going to work is fill out your questions, bring them up. We're going to get through as many of these questions as possible. We'll start with environmental justice. We'll start right on this end first. Tell me how you understand environmental justice and what can our state and our region do better, Mr. Page?
Environmental justice is the protection of our natural resources, and we have to do the utmost to protect our natural resources. I'm directly involved with Line 5. I'm in the 37th district. If you know anything about the 37th district, it's Grand Traverse County, Antrim County, Charlevoix County, and then Emmett and Sheboygan. And now you jump the bridge. You jump the bridge, you're going Mackinac, Chippewa, and Moose. It is ground zero for Line 5. We need to make sure that we shut down Line 5. I'm against the tunnel. I do not trust Enbridge. All you have to do is look at Kalamazoo and you realize that that's not environmental justice. We have to do the utmost to protect it, to prevent us from going into the court systems in fighting for justice after the fact. We need to do it beforehand. All right? Thank you.
Same question, would you like me to read that or do you still have it?
If you wouldn't mind.
Sure. Tell me how you understand environmental justice and what can our state and our region do better?
Justice in general, I think, comes down to accountability. When we're talking about the environment, we're talking about how we consume the resources that are available, these public resources like air, water, land, and so forth. And as of right now, there's no good way, at least that we have implemented, to hold accountable those people and those organizations that are consuming resources without properly paying for the value that they are consuming. So, for example, when we're talking about something like Nestle, they're paying less per gallon of water than we did. By the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality simulations over 20 years, pumping at 400 gallons per minute, we will see a 20% reduction in surface water. And that is going to have some very long-term consequences. Who's picking up the bill for that? If line 5, not if, when line 5 does have a catastrophic burst, it's going to cost us $6 billion to clean it up.
30 seconds.
Who's going to pick up that cost? They don't have the money. So it's going to come back on us, the taxpayers, on us, the people that rely on it, that have to live with it. They don't have to worry about it. That's not justice. Justice is accountability, and we need to hold those accountable who consume or destroy the resources that they are extracting. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. O'Neill, do you need the question again?
No, I think I have.
Okay.
To me, and thank you, Desmond, for having me here. To me, I think there are two aspects of environmental justice. Justice, of course, requires that we all have equal access to the resources of the state, and that we don't impose upon any of our citizens a greater cost regarding the resources of the state. So justice requires that every citizen of the state have equal access to our forests and to our lakes to use and enjoy. But more importantly, we, like many places around the country, tend to impose the environmental cost of the activities that we engage in on the poorest people and in the poorest communities of our state. Minority and poor communities invariably become the sites of our toxic dumps and our incinerators. They have higher cancer rates, they have poorer health, and they bear an unfair burden for the activities that we engage in. And it's wrong, and it needs to stop. We need to begin first by working to eliminate the threats to our environment. But we also need, at the same time, to make sure that when there are threats to our environment, that we all bear that cost equally and we stop imposing it on the poorest among us.
Go ahead. Do you need the question? Okay. I want to make sure I'm pronouncing your last name right. Is it White Jessica?
White Jessica, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yep, Kathy White Jessica, and I'm running for the 101st, which is the 4 counties right along beautiful Lake Michigan, Leelanau, Benzie, Manistee, and Mason. So it's one of the largest districts in the State House, and we drive down to Ludington twice a week, my husband and I, and our campaign manager drives down the other 2 days a week. So the point is, we see the beautiful water of Lake Michigan, and that's what this district has in common. As far as environmental justice and this district and the entire state, I agree with what Dan says. We need to identify the biggest population that is affected the most are the people of poor socioeconomic status. And my big thought about that is because they don't have a voice. They don't have somebody to stand up for them, because do you realize that most people who are elected are very wealthy? You know, only 3%.
30 seconds.
Only 3% of the people that are elected are working people. And so I've been a nurse all my life, and I've always fought for working people, and that's what I intend to do down in Lansing. I'm not rich. I'm fortunate to be able to do this, but I'm here for all people, and it doesn't matter what socioeconomic status they are. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Okay, I'm gonna move on to another question. I want to acknowledge the fact that we have a tribal chairperson here from the Little Traverse Bay Bands of Odawa Indians as well. Chinwe Wetch, Chair of the Ganasco family. Which brings me to my next question. I'm going to throw in a native question here. Okay, what would you do to ensure that the state meaningfully incorporates tribal consultation into its decisions. Mr. Page.
I'm trying to think of what you're referring to is consultation into legislations that are coming into available.
Consultation on any issues that are affecting our environment. The state currently doesn't consult in a very good way with the tribes. What would you do to improve that?
Okay, first of all, my views are probably going to be your views, okay? Because, and I'm going to bring that in. I talk exclusively with people of the tribe. One of my best friends and consultants on environmental issues is Phil Belfi, and he is a tribe member, right? And then I'm constantly talking to Aaron Piedmont and Brian Newland of the area. I'm from the eastern upper peninsula. I'm from Chippewa County. So I have the ability to talk to these individuals on a one-to-one basis. But as a legislature, the first thing I'm going to do is bring in all the tribes, all the councils into availability, and I'm going to talk to them. And I'm going to find out what issues are important to them. Line 5, drinking water, treaty rights. I strongly have talked to the Adawa Indians of the Little Travis Bay, and we talked to them about the ongoing lawsuit, and I'm familiar with that. We need to do litigation on that and make sure that their rights get protected, right? And I think more counsel and more communication on a one-to-one basis with all the tribe members is necessary to ensure that we have good environmental laws.
Thank you. Mr. Taylor?
Thanks. You know, I'm a researcher at heart, and so a big goal, probably my primary goal in legislation, is to create a structure in which our representatives actually represent. Imagine that. How? The question is how? Well, we do that by expanding transparency. I want to see absolute transparency so the people of Michigan can actually see what's going on, how the decisions are being made, and expanding conflict of interest regulations on elected officials. We need to hold people accountable for the decisions that are being made. What does that have to do with the question at hand? Well, the question at hand requires us to collect information on any, environmental issues,
30
any
seconds.
issue in which the tribes have a stake. And that's going to be pretty much every decision we make here in Michigan. And so to properly collect all the information necessary to make a proper decision, to make an
15
informed
seconds.
decision, we need to consult with those who have a stake in that decision. Otherwise, the conclusions we come to are going to be flawed, and that's just the end of it. We're never going to make any progress until we make better decisions.
Thank you. Mr. O'Neill?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and I think that it comes down, it's an issue of fundamental fairness and justice. I'm an attorney, practiced in tribal courts across northern Michigan. And too often in this state, the idea of tribal sovereignty has been treated as something that we just tolerate instead of something that we recognize and respect. And I understand tribal sovereignty. And to me, it's inconceivable that you would make decisions about the resources of this state once you recognize that you share the resources of this state with another nation and not consult that nation on the decisions that you make. I don't see how you can do that in a sensible way. And I've been awfully proud of the Grand Traverse Band, only because I grew up in Traverse City and live here, and the band has been just part of our community forever. In the leadership that they've shown on natural resource issues all my life. I work with Conservation Resource Alliance on the work to remove the dams on the Borden River. And the tribe has been not just a great partner, but a great leader on those issues.
30 seconds.
So I look forward to improving and enhancing the relationship between the state of Michigan and the sovereign nations that are the tribes.
Thank you. Mrs. White Jessica?
Yes, I really believe relationships and unity have to be something that people have to strive for and work for, and you have to invite those people to the table, but you also have to reach out to everyone and make the effort. And most of us, I think here, don't take any money from corporations, so we're not beholden to that particular group of people. And our main focus are the folks in this district. So reaching out to the tribe, inviting them to help with decision making, and I've spoken about this in forums with other groups as well. I've had people come up to me and talk to me and say, I really think that people who have worked their entire life and are retired have a lot to offer to the state, but they're not invited or encouraged to come down there to share any of their views. And that could apply to the tribe as well. So I would be an advocate of reaching out, opening those doors of communication, and forming relationships that perhaps have not been there before. It's a matter of
30
welcoming.
seconds.
It's a matter of welcoming people, and you know, it's valuing people's opinion and people's expertise. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so this is going to be a tough one. Not that the others haven't been, but this is going to be a tough one. It's kind of long too, but it's got good lead in. With the latest IPCC report, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, report finding we need to cut our greenhouse gas pollution by 50% in just 12 years to avoid some devastating impacts. What would you do if elected in your position to make the climate crisis a top priority? Mr. Page?
Climate change is a reality. I agree with that, 100%. What we need to do, we've already started some of it with increasing the amount of renewable energy that we have in there. I think we started off at like 10% of the energy that is made today, manufactured today, needs to be required to be renewable energy. We need to increase that. We need more solar power. We need to encourage companies to make and produce more solar panels, and that's in this area. I know that they were trying to do one in Sheboygan, and it didn't get through because local government was blocking it. We need wind power. We need to make sure that we manufacture it and that we put it on there and use it. We need to increase our percentages and decrease our fossil fuel consumption. That's a necessary must. We have to take the initiative to do that. As a government, we need to increase our goals and percentages to get to the 50%, to even get to 75%, and to eliminate it. We need to enforce the EPA rules to reduce our consumption and the production of the automobiles. I drive a C-Max hybrid to
30
reduce
seconds.
our cost. We can do more of that. We can have electric cars. We have to have the initiative to do that and the incentive to do that. And it starts right here.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Taylor?
The goals that we have right now for reducing greenhouse gases is not enough. What the beautiful reality of this is that solar and wind power when you measure it as a metric of production capacity per dollar spent, is cheaper than fossil fuels already. So what does that mean? That means that every dollar that we spend in the state of Michigan to sustain or fix or expand fossil fuel infrastructure or production is reducing our return on fiscal expenditures. We're losing money, we're wasting money. It's actually more fiscally responsible to make the transition. Every dollar we spend shifting to
30
solar
seconds.
and wind is gonna save us money in the long run. It's gonna make us more competitive in the long run. Economics is not in contrast to what is good for the environment. It's about seeing how we can best utilize our resources to improve quality of life in Michigan. And this is just a no-brainer. The fact that we're still relying on fossil fuels is not only irresponsible and dangerous, but it's flippin' expensive. Thanks.
Mr. O'Neill, do you need the question again, or are you good?
No, I think I have it.
Okay.
I think it is, it's evidence of the political times that we live in and how bizarre our politics have become. That in light of that latest report, and as dire as that is, there have been reports before that we are talking about any other issue at any time except what are we going to do about the climate crisis. The consequences are so dire that it ought to occupy all of our energy and all of our attention all of the time, and that it doesn't tells you that there's something fundamentally wrong with our politics. I'm not the first person to say this, but I think that it's true that you can test the health of a democracy based upon how it protects the environment, because we all benefit from clean air and clean water, and only a very tiny segment of the society benefits from polluting the air and the water. And when their interests are protected and the rest of us are not, it means that democracy is not reflexively doing what it should be doing, which is serving the needs of the people.
15 seconds.
So in answer to what I would do about it, I would do everything I can every day that I'm there with every ounce of energy that I have to send a signal that we need to address this, which I believe is the defining issue of our time, as aggressively as we can. Thank you.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay,
Sorry.
sorry. So yeah, climate change, obviously, it's real. We know it's real. But many people don't think it's real, and I agree with Dan that why is it politicized? The root source is money and greed, and that's a big reason why I'm here, because money has never motivated my life, and I've run as far away from greed as I could. I just can't believe that we are where we're at, but I fight every day along with my team so that I can get down there and make a difference. And the laws that are there are not being enforced. The DEQ, being watered down, and the oversight committee that is made up of corporations, that needs to stop, that needs to go away, and let the DEQ do its job. And we need to fund the DEQ so it can do its job. We need to make sure that the 54 miles per gallon goal, that it remains. And right now it's at 2025. That
15 seconds.
each vehicle would be have to meet 54 miles per gallon, and I would totally enforce that. I think the future is electric vehicles, and we should be giving people rebates for their electric vehicles. I remember when we bought our Prius, we didn't get a rebate, but those are the things I would enforce. Thank you.
Thank you. There are some very important questions here. We are running a little late, but I want to get these asked. So we're going to trim the time down just a little bit because I want to get through some of these. I think they're urgent and they need to be asked. PFAS. 1.5 million people have been drinking PFAS contaminated water, some of them in our region. What are we going to do about it? We're going to start with Ms. Wojcicka first. Mrs. Go ahead.
PFAS. Well, what we're going to do about it is, somebody mentioned it earlier, we need to have a transparent government. Michigan, maybe not a surprise to anyone here, is the least transparent government in the nation, and that needs to stop.